The baddest man on the planet is back because Mike Tyson is coming out of retirement to fight Jake Paul. The two will be getting it on at the AT&T Stadium in front of 80,000 fans, July 20th, live on Netflix. Where the fuck has this come from? This fight's crazy, man. It's completely taken me by surprise. I want to get a quick instant reaction out to you guys straight away to let you know my thoughts on it. Listen, when you say that a 27-year-old guy who's been fighting actively for the last 5 years, regardless of his experience, is taking on a guy 30 years older than him, 57 years old. One fight in the last 25 odd years, you would have to say that the young guy who's been active would be a massive, massive favourite. And let's wait and see what the bookmakers make of this. But I think that Mike Tyson's got a better chance in this fight than a lot of people are giving him credit for, you know. Because listen, Jake Paul is clearly, in my opinion, the most accomplished out of the influencer boxers. What I mean by that is not out of any guy that you might potentially see on a Misfits card, you know, or on a Most Valuable Promotions card. Because a lot of these guys, let's say, for example, an Anthony Taylor had an MMA background. Tommy Fury had amateur fights and pro fights. But in terms of a guy that literally went from YouTube with no boxing experience to getting in there and fighting legit fighters, you know, maybe not boxers all the time, but retired fighters, MMA guys, things like that. I think that Jake Paul has the best resume so far, you know. Tyrone Woodley, Anderson Silva, Nate Diaz, Tommy Fury. But recently, Jake Paul's hype and the chaos around his name has started to die down, because what Jake Paul's done is tried to go down the boxing, you know, boxing prospect route almost. Fighting guys that aren't really heard of, that you can often pluck fighters out of BoxRec that have semi-decent records, but actually the eye test will tell you that they're not that good. Andre August got stopped in the first round with a right uppercut. Andre August was rubbish, let's be honest, he was shit. We can look at the last guy, Ryan Borland, is it Borland? He wasn't any good too. The two of them, between them, I think had one fight in the last 5 years. So that pretty much says it all. And although we didn't really learn much about Jake Paul in the Andre August fight, the Ryan Borland fight was a little bit concerning for me, because Jake Paul looked like he had regressed a bit in that fight, you know. It was one-way traffic, let's be honest. And Jake Paul wasn't bringing his hands back in between his punches. Ideally, if you're unloading on a guy, yeah, okay, it's hard to show any of your defensive work, but you still want to be going from A to B and then back to A, turning your shots over, right? You don't want to be so front foot heavy that all the guy tucking up needs to do is throw a little left hook at you and he's going to hit you, and that's exactly what Jake Paul was. And Jake Paul had a lot of negative feedback. There was a bit of critique online around that fight that Jake Paul would have very much read into, and I think that would have come into his chain of thought, into his decision-making when it came to taking this fight against Mike Tyson. I think that Jake Paul was stuck between a rock and a hard place, you know. A lot of the top MMA guys that would be willing to transition into boxing have already done so. Yeah, you could carry on picking other guys out, but it just didn't look like it was going to happen. It didn't really look like a KSI fight was going to materialize anytime soon, and when you look at BoxRec placing Jake Paul at 112th in their rankings, all you got to do is take a little look below him and a little bit look above him and realise that he probably doesn't belong there, you know. Let's take, for example, Vidal Riley. I think he's 108th or something like that, so 4 spots or so above Jake Paul. Could you honestly see Vidal Riley and Jake Paul being even semi-competitive as a fight? It wouldn't be competitive, it wouldn't be fair, and for that reason, I don't think Jake Paul, when he's calling the likes of Canelo and guys like that out, even believes it himself, that he can get in and compete with those sort of guys. So really, strategically, it is a masterstroke from Jake Paul to take this fight on, because you are pulling the biggest name in boxing, in my opinion, over the last 50-odd years or so, out of retirement to come and get in a ring with you. And actually, it's a way lower risk fight than the name of Mike Tyson would deserve, you know, because Mike Tyson hasn't been active. Mike Tyson has had, one fight in 25 odd years? But I tell you what, that one fight that Mike Tyson did have actually really impressed me. When Mike Tyson was lined up to fight Roy Jones Jr., one of my favourite fighters of all time, I pretty much thought it could be a bit of a mismatch, you know. We know that Mike Tyson has had both mental and physical trauma in his life since his retirement. We know that, obviously, he's a smoker, and that won't do any wonders for your cardio. Fighters that rely heavily on explosivity, like Mike Tyson, you know, British fight fans watching this will remember David Haye. That sort of explosiveness, those reflexes, when they leave you, a whole part of your boxing ability can also leave you. So I was very pessimistic as to what we would see from Mike Tyson on that Triller card. Ironically, a card that Jake Paul also fought on. But I was massively, massively impressed, you know. Mike Tyson, out of him and Roy Jones Jr., actually looked like the younger man in that fight. He looked like he still had a bit of that side-to-side bobbing movement. And although at times it looked like they were taking it easy on each other, that actually whetted my appetite a little bit more to see Mike Tyson in there with other guys. Not live opponents, not young fighters like Jake Paul, but maybe other guys that would be willing to come out of retirement. Mike Tyson didn't then fight again after that for a good few years, and I thought that was it done. Well, clearly not, because they're about to get it on in front of 80,000 people in Texas. And I'll tell you what, if you're one of the 80,000 that gets a ticket to this fight, you're going to be witnessing history, you know. A lot of people have a lot of bad feeling around this fight because a lot of people will see that there is a chance of Jake Paul getting a win over Mike Tyson here, and they'll feel that Jake Paul has not done enough in boxing to be able to even get in a ring with Mike Tyson. And the fact that this is a faded, old, retired Mike Tyson is just unfair in a way. But actually, I think Mike Tyson's got a chance of winning this fight, you know. If we look at Jake Paul's last few fights, right, he could have potentially just been boxing to the level in front of him. I know full well when I get in there for sparring, sometimes I'll just fight to the level in front of me and I won't bring my hand back where it needs to be to defend myself. I maybe won't be as sharp as my feet as I need to be. Maybe shots that I wouldn't take against a harder puncher, I might take just to give one to be able to land one myself, or take one, I should say. But if we are to read into Jake Paul's last few performances, we could potentially say that he's on the slide ever so slightly. And if he is on the slide a little bit, then here's what I think Mike Tyson needs to do. Mike Tyson needs to go into this fight and see it as a 3-round shootout. Because if it's over 8, 10 rounds, even 6 rounds, I don't know how well Mike Tyson at 57 years old is going to be able to hold up to that level of fitness, even the level of training to get him through the camp. But if he sees this as a 3-round fight, goes in there and throws hell for leather trying to take Jake Paul's chin off, I think there's a chance he can do it. You know, I said about him losing a bit of the explosiveness, but I tell you what, the last thing as a fighter you lose is your punch power. Just ask George Foreman when he came back from retirement. And Jake Paul's not the hardest guy to hit, you know. Listen, Jake Paul's going to be the bigger man. I actually think at the age Mike Tyson's at now, he'll be the heavier man. And he's been the more active man. But Mike Tyson will have this going in his factor, and it's like muscle memory, right? Any bodybuilding guys, weightlifter guys will know this. When you're a bodybuilder, when you're a weightlifter, right, you might take a couple of months out of the gym, and because of that, you're not going to be able to lift anywhere near as much weight as you were able to lift before you take that time out of the gym. But there's a small thing called muscle memory, and that muscle memory will probably see you through and let you lift those same sort of weights. And it could actually be delusion, it could actually be naivety to be able to think you can do that. But believing in yourself is part of the process. And Mike Tyson will have the muscle memory of being able to look at Jake Paul and go, mate, I've fought guys so much better than you. I have fought guys and knocked guys out of the ring that are 10, 20, 30 times the ability of this kid here. And he'd still believe at the age he's at that he can land one on the chin of Jake Paul. You know, if we believe John Fury's claims that he thinks he could get in there and do a number on younger guys, believe me, the standard of John Fury compared to the standard of Mike Tyson is night and day. So if John Fury's got that belief, believe you me, Mike Tyson will have that belief. And if Mike Tyson goes in there and just looks from the first bell to take Jake Paul's chin off, could he get caught? Maybe, but he'd be getting paid millions to do so. And I truly believe that then if he can make it a shootout for 3 rounds, he's got a chance, man. He's got a chance. This is like Rocky Balboa, you know, Rocky 6, the one after the Tommy Gunn Rocky with Tommy Morrison, where if Mike Tyson goes in there and puts up a good fight, he's almost the moral victor. And I'll tell you what, Jake Paul's come under a lot of stick during his short boxing career. And it's actually admirable that he can come under that sort of stick and keep on going, keep on moving forward. Because if he wasn't hated before by a lot of the general public, he will be now, you know. Mike Tyson will be a hero in this fight. Mike Tyson will be carrying boxing on his back in this fight, you know. We've seen the likes of Carl Froch go back with Jake Paul, back and forth. Canelo be called out by Jake Paul. The boxing public would absolutely love nothing more than a fan favourite like Mike Tyson to come in here, and to take Jake Paul's chin off. And I do genuinely believe there's a chance it happens. Do I think Jake Paul is a favourite in this fight? Yes, of course I do. He's younger, he's fresher, he's more active, and Jake Paul's not as bad a boxer as the naysayers would like to give him credit for. Could he lace Mike Tyson's boots in Mike Tyson's prime? Absolutely no way, no chance. But if we look at that Mike Tyson that went in there with Roy Jones Jr., if he can maybe do what he could do against Roy Jones Jr. for 3 rounds against Jake Paul, I think he's got a 30, 40, maybe even a 50% chance of chinning Jake Paul, you know. Listen, I've got in there, man, and sparred ex-pros, guys that have been retired for 10, 15 years, and I've sort of gone in there. I've got one in mind. I've gone in there with the sort of mindset of, right, I'm going to take it easy on this guy. I weren't taking it easy on him because the guy came in to put it on me. And was he blowing out his arse after 3 rounds? Yes. But for 3 rounds, did I struggle with this guy? Yes. And that is exactly what might happen in this fight. If they need anyone for the undercard, you know where to find me. Hit me up. This is absolutely fascinating. Do people give Mike Tyson a chance in this? Am I being crazy to even say that sentence there? I believe there'll be a lot of people that are backing Mike Tyson to go in there and do a job on Jake Paul. Is it fair? Well, at the end of the day, if Mike Tyson's willing to accept it and he's going to get paid millions and millions for this fight, then why not, man? Like, really, why not, you know? Listen, I'm 29 now. I reckon when I'm 49, I'm still going to believe that I can beat 19-year-old guys in a boxing ring. Is that delusion? Yeah, probably, but I still think I'll be able to, or at least think I'll be able to do it. So, I don't know, man. I really don't know. It's a bit of a ramble, but if Mike Tyson can box as well as he did against Roy Jones Jr., and if Jake Paul has slipped a bit from the levels we saw against maybe a Tyrone Woodley or an Anderson Silva or a Tommy Fury, then that evens the playing field ever so slightly. And the physical attributes that age would allow Jake Paul to have on his side might diminish ever so slightly. That, as I say, for 3 rounds, this could be a shootout. And in a shootout, I still think at 57, Mike Tyson has more power than Jake Paul. I still think at 57, Mike Tyson knows how to close a gap, get in tight better than Jake Paul does. And once they're in tight, if it becomes a shootout there, are you seriously telling me you don't still back Mike Tyson to be able to chin Jake Paul? I don't know, man. Listen, I think the bookmakers will have Jake Paul as a favourite. I think a lot of people inside boxing will begrudgingly accept that Jake Paul's a favourite in this fight. But fuck it, I'm picking Mike Tyson to win inside 3 rounds. People, what do you think? Can Iron Mike Tyson come back and make this a competitive fight with Jake Paul? Or can he go one further and come back and chin Jake Paul? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I'm going to get together with Brian, the true Geordie, and we're going to break this fight down in a bit more detail over the next few days, hopefully. Remember, tomorrow we are live on the Pain Game for the Anthony Joshua against Francis Ngannou fight. So join us over there where we will definitely be discussing this exact topic in a lot more detail. Let me know. Predict your winner in the comment section below. I'll be reading through your comments. I'll try and get back to as many of you as I possibly can, and I will see you all in the next one.